Welcome to Merchman Seeds Cup of Joe. On this episode, President of Merchman Fertilizer, Henry Merchman, joins us for a fertilizer update. Ben highlights results from first trial reports in northern Missouri and Washington, Iowa. Hear an update from Lynn on Merchman soft red winter wheat and southeast Iowa crops.
Hi, this is Joe Merchman. Welcome to Merchman Seeds Cup of Joe. Today we have Ben and Lynn and my brother Henry. Henry, this is Cup of Joe. What tech you got going on there?
Yeah, gotta get, fill it in a little bit.
Well, anyhow, the reason Henry's here today, as you know, he is the president of Merchman Fertilizer, so he's here to give a fertilizer update, which, that's really important to farmers right now. So go ahead, Henry.
I'm going to talk about nitrogen, phosphate, and potash, and but before I start, the first thing that I run into a lot of farmers and other people that are, that buy fertilizer, and they always say, well, how come you guys keep raising the price? And I'm like, well, I wish I was that powerful that I could just come on Monday morning and decide to go up $10 a ton or $20, but fertilizer is a world commodity, and there's so much stuff going on in the world that changes things. And when you have a lot of exporters they're going to South American Brazil because there might be a $20 or $30 better net back than the U.S. Things change constantly like that. And so when we talk about these prices, it's all based on supply and demand in the whole world, not just the U.S. So I cannot control prices, sorry. But we'll start out with nitrogen. I'll just go through the different ones, like urea. Well, and one of the things that we see in the industry, again, on a world basis, is all the political things that come up. And now we got with the Israel and Iran thing going on, urea prices have made a jump here recently because they're nervous about some production in that area and so forth. And we've seen New Orleans gone up, nice little clip here in the last, week, 10 days. And so urea's coming up. UAN has been flat, but it will follow it, and some guys are starting to move the UAN up now. It's been flat for some time. The ammonia has been strong, and they're saying, why is ammonia so much stronger than a year ago? Well, one of the main pipelines that goes through the Midwest, they're doing hydro testing on it. So when the fill program came out, or the prepay program came out, one of the major suppliers that has terminals on that pipeline said, we don't know if they have problems with the pipeline. We don't know if we'll be able to use the pipeline to get it to the terminal. So they stayed out of the ammonia fill program. And so that just put more pressure on it. And the other thing, I remember one time I went to a dealer, a meeting, a TFI meeting, and I was talking to a major supplier, and then he goes, well, Henry, we finally figured it out. What's that? We got to quit selling 8 weeks of ammonia in a 6-week season because they can't deliver it. And so I always say the ammonia season in the Midwest is like an airplane. There's 300 seats on there, and once that seat's full, you can't put 350 people on there, and we have the same thing. So when suppliers get comfortable on what they can deliver in a given specific time frame, they pull back, or raise the prices significantly. And that's what's happening mainly in ammonia anymore. So going on to phosphate. Phosphate worldwide is very, very strong every place. It's tight. It's hard to find product, as a matter of fact, barges and so forth. Interestingly, if you look at the U.S. has put countervailing duties against Russian phosphate and also Moroccan phosphate. And how that works is that take 2022, for example, on the Moroccan phosphate, anything they ship through 2022, they don't put the duty on until April of 23. So when that happened, they put a duty on. It was a lot higher. I can't remember what it was, but in April of 23, they put a 2.2% duty for everything that they may have shipped into the U.S. if they decided to. Well, they didn't decide to, because when you don't know what the duty is going to be, you got to be really careful, because it could cost you a lot of money. So when it went to 2.2%, the Moroccans thought, it's 2.2%, we'll pay that duty and it might go down. So they geared up to start bringing product in for this year. And then when the 23 duty came out, which would have been April of 24, they announced it, they raised the duty to like 14%. And then they're like, oh no. So then again, it's always after the fact. So there's these imports just aren't coming in because of countervailing duties. And so that's kept everything very strong, you know. And lastly, the potash. Potash seems like there's plenty of product out there. But when everybody gets too relaxed, oh, there's plenty, and we have a big season, we'll see that inventories get knocked down. And then the next part of my speech is about all the things that happen out there. You know, we have low water, we have some plants that have gotten damaged from the hurricane that are out of production for a short time. We constantly are having more delays in shipping, you know, everything that it always takes longer to get something today than what we plan on, and so whenever you try to get just-in-time fertilizer anymore, it's virtually impossible. And we also have what I talked about earlier, all the political issues going on in the fertilizer. So anymore, if you don't plan way in advance for stuff, you may not get it, you know, in a timely fashion. And we start planning as early as April, May for fall, and we still are waiting for some barges today that we put orders in April. And now we're up against, you know, they got to have them on the water in the next probably 3 weeks, or they're not going to make it. And so if you have any kind of blip in that last 21 days here, we're not going to get them, even though they were ordered in April. So although I wish I could control prices, I don't. And overall prices, I think, are not a bad out there for what's going on. I know grain prices are a little lower, but there's a lot of planning goes on to get product in a timely fashion anymore today.
So Henry, if I'm a farmer and I say, well, you know, I don't want to pay today's price, I'll just wait till spring, is that a good idea?
Well, we see the fall, what we see going on right now is every year our fall business gets a little bigger and a little bigger every year. And what's going on is these farmers, the progressive farmers, they want to get everything they can done so that when it's time to plant in the spring, they plant. They don't want to have to put fertilizer on, till it, and do all this stuff. They want to get everything done. And so we can at times see prices go down in fall, but then if you
mean spring?
I mean in the spring, but then if you plant your crop two or 3 weeks later, you know, are you going to have lower yields? I don't know. You know, I mean, it seems like the guys that get their crops in earlier typically have better yields than the guys that get delayed and, you know, all of a sudden it's June 1st and I don't have my crop planted. So there's a trade-off like anything. And so
how do you get resupplied for spring when you basically have empty bins after fall season?
And that's the other thing. We gotta wait for the river to open up. You know, we try to get enough product that on barge basis. And, you know, we can get rail car in, but like phosphate comes by barge. You know, urea comes by barge. If we don't bring product in the fall and try to have stuff going through winter, then we may miss the spring season. So we have to time it to a certain extent. If we just wait for the river to open up, which sometimes it gets delayed because of high water, sometimes we get in the field early, we could literally miss it. One of the reasons why we have so much storage is because of that reason. We built storage because we knew that we had to get through the winter. And so you're taking a gamble if you think you want to buy barges in the spring and then have them delivered in a timely fashion. We had one spring not too long ago. Our first barges showed up the 15th of June. We never got a single barge of fertilizer until the 15th of June. Season was over. We had but the only good thing about it is everybody else had the same problem. And so everybody struggled trying to find product.
So obviously the price that was in the bins was higher. much
It
higher.
took a lot higher because you had to go to the Illinois River. It was open or something like that. But they had locks that literally have to shut down when they got so much water going through them, and they couldn't, and they just didn't open up. And so I remember the first barge June 15th.
So a smart farmer takes a bird in hand. If he can get it done this fall, probably a good idea. Usually.
You know, the trend is bigger and bigger falls. I've got some guys that I talk with that are not in our trade area, that maybe central Illinois or northern Iowa and stuff. They'll get as much as 95% of their P&K will be applied in the fall. So so that when come spring, they don't have hardly any P&K goes out. And I mean, it's extremely minimal.
Yeah, because the fertilizer season always starts with pastures first, and that
Right.
type, and then it goes to row crops. So,
But you know, not too long, we were probably 50-50, but that keeps moving. But I think the tendency is that if anything you can get done in the fall is better, and then you're ready to go in spring.
because our springs have been wet and our falls have been dry, so makes sense.
Yeah, we've been spreading fertilizer right up till, if the weather stays good. The last couple of years, almost a week, 2 weeks before Christmas, we were still spreading fertilizer. So,
And I think that trend is definitely because of the last, 5 years, we probably had better falls, longer falls,
Yes.
drier falls.
yes.
And that definitely helps. Because there's an old saying that the worst tillage you do in the fall is better than the best tillage you can do in the spring.
Yeah.
Because of, just moisture and putting plow pans or, compaction layers in. So what is one nutrient that is not on that list that you either surprises you or you've seen an uptick in for demand on?
Well, it's sulfur. It seems like you can't get enough sulfur anymore. And there's a lot of, like Mosaic came out with this S10 product, so it's got sulfur in it. We got this new Amidas has got sulfur in it. It's crazy how the demand for any kind of sulfur is, and how it just keeps going up every year. And it really seems like agronomically it's doing it well. We've talked to people that say you can't get enough sulfur on it anymore. Before, 15, 20 pounds, and now guys are saying, no, you can put 50 pounds on that,
And the yields keep going up.
and they keep going up.
Yeah. I was listening to a podcast this week and it said sulfur is a soil amendment product before it is a nutrient for the plant because it ties to the magnesium and calcium, and if you have a high cal soil or something like that, you use it as an amendment. That's why gypsum gets used so frequently.
There's a lot of products that people are trying out there, and they have a lot of they're good products and stuff, but somebody wanted to throw an extra $25 or $50 an acre down to try to increase his yield. I'd say try sulfur. If you're not using sulfur, try that first, because we've seen it. It's crazy how the sulfur demand has been.
Very good.
Well, thanks, Henry. It was a good report, and I think it helps farmers understand, why fertilizer prices are where they're at, because I hear it too, So that's good to know the facts.
I have two different items here sitting in front of me, Joe, on this first trial reports. I just kind of wanted to highlight something. We have a Northern Missouri summary coming out, and we don't typically enter the first trials. We had a couple different products in this year because local growers and local people were asking for a few of the Merschman corn bags to be put in from the new PowerCore Enlist standpoint. And I wanted to highlight this Northern Missouri one. Merschman Seeds didn't have any products entered, but in their early division, 3 out of the top 6 products and the number 1 product was a PowerCore Enlist product for Northern Missouri. So this Taylor and Green Valley both have, ironically, 111, 112 days that are extremely strong. Top the plot, the plot summary for 4 locations at 280 bushel an acre, and that is 22 bushel an acre over the test average. So
I think the point being that the PowerCore Enlist genetics are stout, very stout.
correct.
And they're dominating this year in these trials. You look at the first trials, and PowerCore Enlist is right at the top all the way through. So
right.
and again, Washington, Iowa, where we had actual entries of Merschman brand corn in, you can tell them the results of that.
Yep. So we had in the early and the full season test, we had top 2 finishes. So the 108 day went 304 bushel an acre. That's a number 2 finish and we had a couple PowerCore enlists, other brands that are right there next to us on top as well. That one would be 20. I had to do some quick math. That one would be 24 bushel over the test average for that first trial, and then the full season are 25-12 that we have talked about quite a bit in this
112 day.
podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, our 112 day got second at 302 bushel an acre, and that would be right at 20 bushel over the test average. So there's definitely horsepower in there. I didn't really want to spend too much time, but you can look at the first trials, and if you go to their main page and you scroll down to there's a middle tab on that website there, and you can search Merschman seeds and look at all the trials that the PowerCore enlist were entered in. So
Yeah, and our seed production fields are setting records, as far as how much corn we're getting off our seed production. And you have to understand, you have to have high-yielding inbreds to have high-yielding hybrids. And the company that does our seed corn production for us has been in business 88 years, and this year they set a new 88-year record with our hybrid, the 112 day, for yield off the seed field. So we got a good supply right now of the 112 day. In fact, all of the PowerCore hybrids that we have, and more so than, I can't talk for all of the other companies, but Ben's been pretty aggressive in bringing them on because he saw the data the last 2 years, actually last 3 years, and said, this is incredibly good corn. So we went into production on it. Our seed fields are yielding high. We got a good supply. And on top of it, Ben, you're tweaking the seed treatment again this year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we added a nematicide, Trinemco, that's also in the soybean side, so a different rate. But I think a nematicide is extremely important for a lot of acres when it comes to protection of yield, for sure.
So if you haven't looked at Merschman corn, you need to. You need to look at it real hard because we offer a great value and some tremendous yield. I tell Lynn, get it sold out. And again, don't forget, we have a guarantee. The only company I know in the industry that does it. If you do not get the hybrid that you ordered, the replacement's free. So we have it's called the no substitution policy. Nobody else offers that, so that's another advantage.
You are absolutely correct. And one of the things that guys that have been asking me, because I think we're fairly aggressively priced on our corn from a broad acre standpoint, and one of the guys, how come you only went up, $1.83 over year? One of the reasons is that inbred concept that you were talking about. The cost of production is lower when you have high yielding inbred. So that's one of the ways that we can continue to stay aggressive when a lot of companies went up 15, 16, 17, $18 a bag. So
yep, no inflation at Merschman Seeds, right?
We're trying our best.
That's right, because we know farmers right now are really pinching pennies and trying to spread that income over their costs, and there's not much left. So, Lynn, I'm sure you've got nothing but good news too.
Absolutely. So one thing that I found exciting for this week, and it seems like I talk about it every week, but it just surprises the heck out of me. We've talking to the logistic guys, we felt like it's a pretty quiet year for shipping on wheat. And on Wednesday, our report came out for our sales. And right now, if things continue on the pace that we're going, we're going to have the largest wheat sales year of Merschman Seeds company history. So I'm very excited about how wheat's going. What that means when I was talking to those guys was that people ordered wheat early, and they ordered a lot of wheat early. So still a great supply, as we talked about last week, but really excited that our hyper early and ultra earlies are out in the countryside right now. The other thing that was pretty exciting to see in that breakdown was how much wheat we have sold to north of I-80 for those guys looking into the double crop. So exciting stuff happening there. The other...
To interrupt you just a second, but this week the market ticked up a little bit too. It's off a little bit Friday, but it ticked up a little bit. So I mean, you can lock in some pretty good prices on your wheat for right out of the field right now. So I mean, profitability-wise, wheat's leading the way right now.
Absolutely. The last thing that I had just in the travels and conversation is to your point on corn, to go piggyback on the first trials. What I think is pretty incredible and guys are excited about are not only are we seeing high yields in the test plot, we're also seeing very high yields for field averages as well. Guys have switched over to beans now locally in this area, and preliminary talks are another year of above trend line yields. Some folks are pretty excited because they just didn't expect that out of there. We had a very difficult spring when it came to the later planted bean season, so anywhere from 7 to 10 bushel above expectation right now, which I think is two things. Kudos to our seed treatment for getting those beans up and out of the ground. On those late planted beans and the tough acre population was, it's critical to the yield component right now. The beans maybe didn't put as many nodes or flowers on that we expected them to, but all those plants came up, or a large majority came up. So when we look at that as a bean per square foot, we have accomplished that through just a little bit increased population. But overall, I think in relation to the low prices, guys are still very positive on the outlook for this year because they're raising much higher yield. Now, this is a shameless plug for Henry. He didn't pay me to say this. The thing that I have been having a conversation, and you have as well, when you have these high yields, don't forget about soil testing and taking a look at your fertilizer plan, because if you've fertilized for, if you're on a 2-year removal and you do a 220 corn and a 60 bushel bean, then you crank 280, 290 bushel corn out, you're looking to set that bean up for a deficit. There's been locally here guys that are in that similar program that have had 4 years of yields that far exceed that. So we want to make sure that we continue to monitor our levels in our soil and make sure that we're not going to have a uh-oh moment here potentially next year or the year after that. So be diligent on your soil levels. Make sure you're getting soil testing and making sure you're helping out Henry there and putting on some fertilizer.
Yeah, I'll pay you later.
We appreciate it. Well, anything else to add?
This is Henry's favorite part.
Yeah, this is probably the worst part for
my
Henry.
favorite part I'm going to leave.
Sorry, Henry. All right, this one here might have been told, but and Ben, you probably got this one. Okay, what's black and white and eats like a horse?
No idea.
Zebra. Okay. Farmer Brown. The whole world right now is trying to figure out alternative energy, to run cars and stuff, and the big green movement and all this stuff. Well, anyhow, Farmer Brown was very interested in conserving energy, so he built a pig-powered car. Can you believe it? But he has to get rid of it because every time he turns the corner, the tires squeal. Okay. I thought that was kind of funny. Anyhow, all right. Now, farmers are cutting their soybeans right now. So how do you harvest crops in the winter? With an icicle, okay? All right. I started a company. It's been very dry this fall so far. Very dry, right? Would you agree? I started a company harvesting moisture from plants. Business hasn't been great, but we're making do. No. Don't say anything. Okay. A long time ago, I don't know if you knew this, I was a farmer. I used to grow wheat, and the quality of my wheat was second to none. I was famous the world over for my unmatched wheat harvest. Everything was going fine until one day, in the middle of pitch black night, my most bitter rival stole all my wheat. None of it was left on the field. I was shattered. For that wheat was the source of my livelihood. But nothing could be done now, so I slept with tears in my eyes. But the next day, I read the most shocking headline in the newspaper. The guy who stole my wheat had died of an extreme headache. A headache so severe that his head exploded. At first, I couldn't understand how this happened. Then it hit me. He had migraine.
That's a long build-up for a short one.
Yeah, you should have stuck with the last one.
Oh, well. Anyhow, thanks for watching today. We hope you and your family are safe, and be careful at harvest. It's a very dangerous time, and we hope you're healthy, and we'll see you next week.